Aloha. Welcome to Jordan's Journal. We have another installation today. Today as my guest, I have Vic Gustafson. He's with the State Civil Defense, and we're going to be talking about what that department does and some of the events we've had in this near future. So, welcome, Vic.
Oh, thank you very much, Representative Jordan. Thank you for inviting me and sharing some time with you.
Sure. So, could you tell people out there, obviously you work for Civil Defense, what do you do for Civil Defense, and what is Civil Defense? What is their duties?
Okay. Well, I'm the interim director, currently the interim director for State Civil Defense. State Civil Defense is a division, one of 5 that are under the Department of Defense, and one of the 18 departments under the Office of the Governor.
Oh, okay.
Our job and our role is to look for emergency management. Our mission is to protect the lives and properties of the citizens here in Hawaii. The way that the system is set up, we are more of a coordinating agency. We have a staff of about 62 people, and we help the county civil defense agencies. So essentially, as things happen firsthand, whether it be a flood, an earthquake, a hurricane, the county civil defense agencies, through their county departments, police, fire, EMS, will respond and do what they need to do to help the citizens. And there's always a point in time where resources are exhausted, they need extra maybe, and that's where we, in coordination with the county administrators for civil defense or the Department of Emergency Management here on Oahu, help bring our state agencies, whether it be Department of Health, the National Guard, into play to bring those resources that are requested for some type of assistance. If it gets beyond what the state can do, then we coordinate with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, to bring in a possibility of disaster declaration that's approved by the President. Currently, we have 5 open disasters that are related to flooding, 1 earthquake in the Kikola Bay in 2006, and our most recent March 11th tsunami event.
Wow, that's a lot of things you're handling at one point in time.
Yes, we try and dabble in a few things here and there, and we have different programs, whether it be a training, state hazard mitigation, as well as earthquake and hurricane programs.
So you kind of go on alert when we know, like, maybe a tsunami's coming or a big storm's coming.
We worked hand in hand with the National Weather Service and with the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, and we have a 24/7 capability in the state EOC, or what we call our state warning point. It's manned 3 shifts of people, no less than 2 people per shift, normally 3 or 4 individuals manned during an 8-hour rotation. And they listen to any type of watches or warnings that the Weather Service might have for flooding, flash flood, high wind, and as those events come through and we're advised of those, we go out to the county warning points, or basically the police 911, to ensure that they have that same information. If they don't, we send them a fax copy and we act as their backup. And then the county warning points contact their administrators or their county civil defense to do what they need to do amongst their charters and as directed by their mayors. And same thing with the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. We work hand in hand as to any type of tsunami watches or warning, or information statements about earthquakes that have happened throughout the Pacific Rim or here even locally, and watch that do we need to react and activate like we did back in March.
Wow. And then I guess you step back in once an incident has occurred to assess.
Right. Our role, as we go through this, the county has responsibilities, and then we come in, for example, preliminary damage assessments, rapid needs assessment. What is a community? Is a community cut off? And so we help through support of the Civil Air Patrol or the National Guard for air reconnaissance. We use Joint Task Force Homeland Defense or the active military components. Also to get any type of damage assessments, aerial types. We even have the capability through our national assets to do satellite assistance.
Wow. Yeah, so you're like at the beginning of an incident, and if there is an incident, then you guys step in to assess what's happening, and then how do we go from the assessments, right?
Correct.
So I do know that we've had some incidents in the close future, such as, the tsunami event, and there was some damage to our state.
Correct.
I know there was some weather-related, such as rains or, I guess, earthquake in '06, as you say. So could you talk about some of those incidents in the last
As
few
I said,
years?
we have current open disasters that we have. The Kiohola Bay earthquake in 2006. All these incidents are presidential disaster declarations, so we're working with the counties and doing what we need to do for public assistance. And what public assistance relates to, any type of public infrastructure, roads, bridges, schools, anything that's used by the community on a public nature, if you will, to try and help and repair. Small boat harbors was a major impact that we had from the tsunami just recently. From there, we also have an individual assistance, or things that happen to people. And there's some, under both public assistance and individual assistance, there's rules and regulations as to criteria you have to meet. And unfortunately, some of the disasters that we've had where we've gotten declarations, we haven't met the thresholds on that individual. Case in point, from the tsunami, we had many homeowners that had losses, not only their homes but personal property, but once again, not meeting that threshold. And for each type of state, for us in a 2 million, less than 2 million population, it's approximately 172 homes that are destroyed or major damage. So it's pretty tough. There's other criteria that we can utilize, and we have tried in the past as much as we can. And as they say, the smaller the disaster, the harder it is to get that type of declaration. Some of the things that were most recent and hopefully getting closed is the Manoa flood that happened with the UH. We had the 2008 flood that's most recent flooding disaster, though we had some flooding in January of this year. And we've used some avenues to try and help the community to clean up and help that type of give back, if you will. So not only do we respond doing it, but how can we help and coordinate things to help the community post-event.
So like you're speaking about the 2008 and 2010, and that was one of my areas in my community.
Yes,
we had some incidents in 2008 with some heavy rains.
Correct.
And then again in 2010. So maybe can we talk about the 2008?
Most definitely.
What happened?
As we reported by the National Weather Service, we had, in a 6-hour period, we had 7 inches of rain in the Waianae mountain range area, as well as in the Makaha area, a little over 10.2 inches. And in that 6-hour period, normally the stream beds out in that area are fairly dry. And it's a flash flood event is essentially what happened. And that flash flood essentially came down raging, and some of the debris that was in the streams were exacerbated the problem because it closed some culverts, closed some dams, some bridges. It piled up and redirected the energy or force of the stream. And so by doing that, it did some scouring along some of the banks of the streams, and people lost some land and some property. And so we're trying to see and working with our federal counterparts as well as the city and county as to how do we try and recoup some of that.
Yeah. So like in the 2008, like you're saying, there was debris and stuff that was in the stream, and during a flash flooding situation, it kind of blocks the arteries to get out.
Yes, ma'am. Unfortunately, residents sometimes know, sometimes they don't know. They'll buy a piece of property, and it's nice to listen to the babbling brook, if you will, when there's water in the stream. But because of the drought situation that we've had over the last couple of years here in Oahu, that streams are dry. And it's a real tendency to whether it be just negligence, that you have something on your property and you move it and it somehow gets into the stream bed, or you have illegal dumping.
Yeah.
Some of the residents, I think, know, but are really not really that much aware that they might own out to the middle of the stream.
Yeah.
It's not a city and county stream. It's not a state stream. You know, some are, but some majority on Oahu, as well as around the state, belong to homeowners. And those homeowners, you know, could be anywhere from young married couples, or they could be the older generation,
Yeah.
and our senior citizens that could be on the little bit of the frail side to go out there and cleaning debris from the middle of a stream or natural vegetation. It's kind of tough. So it's kind of something that's out of sight, out of mind sometimes, that no, I'm taking care of my inside house, I'm taking care of my garden.
Yep.
And they forget about, oh, I also have to take care of what's out in that stream, because what happens is that could be washed away and create some problems.
Oh, yeah. So I mean, yeah, I mean, you would tend to forget, if I own this piece of property, that I might have a little swell or a little ditch, or maybe even a stream that babbles behind me.
Correct.
And you know, just as important as cutting your grass in your yard is making sure that nothing foreign is in there and nothing gets real large.
Exactly.
Grows
If
in
you
the middle
have
there.
large kiawe or any type of trees that, you know, might get in there, and we know that, you know, termites are in Hawaii.
Oh yeah.
Wood rot's in Hawaii
Yes.
to some extent. So some type of things can make those trees and all brittle. And so if any type of major flash flood occurrence happens, those trees are broken. Now we have something that's going to clog and catch. Mother Nature is pretty powerful, and it's amazing what she can move. In the '08 flood, a lot of sediment and debris was washed down, for example, Pu'uhulu Stream.
Oh yeah.
And the size of boulders. It's amazing what it can do. That if you look at before and after pictures of an area, that, you know, what was very clean is now filled with debris.
Yeah.
On the sediment side, and vice versa. Something that had huge boulders there, it's clean.
Yeah.
It's like, where'd they go? Well, they're downstream. And the other hard part is that if people do dump into the streams, or they do something to their property, to whether, hey, give me more land to garden, or more land to do something, or access, whatever it may be, to another side of my property, let's say. I own both sides of the stream, if you will. My stream goes through my property. That whatever you do on your land is really not supposed to affect someone downstream of you.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you have to have a lot of good kukua, and what am I doing? Am I going to impact someone downstream?
So then, you know, and you were talking about the 2008 major flood, or heavy downpour, and then again we had a major storm come through here in 2010 that brought some downpour, not as heavy as the '08,
Correct.
but then we were looking at another area, such as you were saying, up in Pu'uhulu.
Correct.
And you see this same type of occurrence, right?
Yes.
With, you know, debris, or people, I want to connect my properties and make it convenient for myself, but not realizing that creating that convenience for yourself might be diverting this natural stream.
And what we saw basically in the 2010 as a backup, because at the end of '08, we, State Civil Defense, basically sponsored, and through the help of the community and some good partnerships with some of local vendors, we held up a Operation Levi, and we had a cleanup. And from that cleanup area in the Makaha Stream, Echo Stream, Pu'uhulu, we took quite a bit of debris out. And so we know at one point it's not pristine, but we reduced the capabilities or the impact that a flash flood might have. But whether it be through just work, or I don't want to say negligence, but you know, you're just letting the land be fallow, if you will, and let grow, like you said earlier. Or if someone neighbor is doing something, or someone that lives in another community that comes in and dumps something, whether it be white goods, scrap metal, tires, things of this nature, then you have a major problem when the rains do come, and that's what we saw in the 2010 area.
So we saw this again in 2010. I mean,
Yeah.
after, like, your agency, there was an emergency situation in 28. Then after that, you made an assessment and said, yeah, we're going to have to remove some of this debris or caught up after that flash
Correct.
flood. So we kind of knew they weren't pristine, but some of that was all removed to some sort of natural state. And
Correct.
here we got another incident that came in 2010 going, wow, we're back to what we saw in 08
Correct.
with the type of debris matter, and in some cases even the loss of personal property, meaning land,
Correct.
due to this, what you call scouring,
Yes.
as the stream seems to grow with this quick and fast rainfall, right? And then how do you assess that again, and looking at it and come to realize, I guess, that maybe properties have been altered, or things get there that aren't supposed to be there.
Well, and a lot too has to do is people come in with good intentions, but I guess Mother Nature wants to go where she originally went many years ago.
Yeah.
And through development or items where people think they're helping a development or a community by redirecting the natural flow, which, hey, it barely trickles, so what's the big impact?
Mm-hmm.
No one thinks there's really
Yeah.
a problem. It's when the heavy rains come that force of Mother Nature says, no, you want me to turn left, but I'm going straight, and
Yeah.
now we have problems.
Yeah. So I mean, but we do. We have. I'm hoping that we can kind of educate the people out there to say, if it's not natural, if it's not green or dirt or rocks, it really shouldn't be in or near the streamways, such as, rubbish or tires or batteries or even household materials. That's what we say, because in raging waters, it's just going to grab everything that's in there or next to it.
Correct.
And that's what we see when it gets from the top, where it's just a little bit. As we go down that stream, by the time you get to maybe like a bridge or the outlet, that's kind of gets blocked with all that stuff. And
Exactly.
Is that what creates the flooding on the plains?
Exactly. Perfect example, when we looked at the Pu'uhulu, we had a lot of sediment came in, and it developed a land, not so much a land bar, but a sandbar with a lot of debris, as well as some debris came down and clogged one side of a stream. So going down the middle of a stream, it kind of redirected it to the left and basically started scouring a bank. And as it came and scoured that bank, it kind of ricocheted, if you will, and curved over. And next thing we know is it shot over a bank, and now it broke through a berm area, and now is running wild, flooding residents that are downhill.
Further down.
Correct.
This.
Not so much
valley.
downstream, but downhill.
Yeah, downhill. The water's going to travel to the lowest point,
You got
right?
it.
I've always heard that saying that just a little bit of water can actually even move vehicles. Is that true?
Well, and that's some of the things that as we get into the flood season and rainy season, that the National Weather Service, through their campaign ads, put out that essentially 2 inches of water across a roadway moving can basically sweep the car off the road and put you in a stream.
Yeah, so it is dangerous. Being in these areas can be quite frightening and
Most definitely.
dangerous. I do know that we are going to do a cleanup coming up on the 10th, and it's going to be focusing on the unnatural things in these streamways or byways, or drainways, to focus on, to put the attention out there that we need to remove it, and to be cognizant of having these neighbors be more in tune to, you may own to the center of that stream.
Right.
You might have some responsibility. So there are departments out there that they can call or ask and say, hey, do I or don't I own this, and what's my responsibilities? I'm sure we have that here within the state, right? And
Most definitely. If anything, if residents or owners of streams or property that a stream runs through or alongside, it's always good to go back and through TMKs or through the Department of Planning and Permitting, you can find out, hey, where do I own? Where does my property line end? And once you know that, then you can just kind of keep an eye on, hey, is my area clean? Is it clear? There's avenues to bulky pickup. You know, people can come in, they can take things to the convenience center at no charge. And it's something that's available. A little bit of sweat and tears to take it out there and stack it, but other than that, then if they come across something that kind of looks strange or smells funny or looks, they can always call the Department of Health. And through their HERE office, hazard evaluation office, they can come out and verify, is this hazardous materials? And if it is, they can take actions to take care of it and what needs to be done. If it has to do, there's always, residents can contact their county civil defense as well as state civil defense for those type of, hey, I have a problem. You know, this is a situation. And then both from the state and the county perspective, we can contact our agencies, whether it be from the State Department of Land and Natural Resources, Planning and Permitting, you know, from the county level, as well as others, the environmental services, to, you know, how do I do this? How do I get rid of it? I believe 211 has a capability of answering questions and is another avenue for residents to find out, hey, I have this item, how do I dispose of it?
Yeah, I mean, we do. We have free disposals of white goods, which that's like refrigerator, or washer, dryer. I mean, we've got bulky pickup through the city. We've got convenience centers where you can personally take, you know, up to 4 tires or a battery, you know, per month. And I mean, that's all free services, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, and even being mindful of, you know, if you've got strangers running through your neighborhood, leaving their things, you know, there's also agencies where you can call and say, hey, I think somebody's illegally dumping in my neighborhood or near a stream. I mean, we have all those capabilities. Even, you know, being cognizant of watching our neighbors, saying, hey, sir, you shouldn't be pushing, you know, making your flat land and pushing it towards the stream, because that can create a berm or create a potential clog and an immediate downpour. You know, I think those are all things that we should be really cognizant of.
And I think that's a great point. That, you know, I think majority of people here that live in the islands don't want to do anything to harm their neighbors or whatever. They're just looking, and sometimes it's done without knowing. And if those things are brought to people's attention, I think, oh, okay, hey, thanks for the information, and, you know, try and work with it, because I think there's a lot of kukua that goes along that they understand, and that's something that I guess, I'm a transplant. I grew up on the mainland, but you know, living here and understanding it's a great place to live, and we want to take care of the lands because it's for us and our kids and and the community.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're true. I mean, usually some people do this not knowing they might be doing something incorrect. And usually, you know, when somebody says, oh, my neighbor's doing this, and then when you go and you confront them, they're like, oh, I didn't know I couldn't do that. You know, where I come from, we can. Or, you know, I didn't know that was a streamway, because a lot of these things aren't identified. This is a stream, or this is a swell, or this is a ditch, you know. So sometimes you might not know. Even recently, I've heard a lot of people say, I didn't know I lived in a sump area or a floodplain area. And, you know, and again, that's just, you know, once you're informed that you are, you know, now what do you do? You know, how do I get help? How do I, you know, help, you know, somebody put it here and I didn't put it here, or I bought it, like you said, I bought this like this, you know. That's, you know, you just hopefully get that information out, because it is so important, because you can see the damage that happens after these occurrences. You know, you can't take back, you know, 10 feet of water in somebody's house and you know, 4 inches of mud.
Exactly right. And we've been lucky over the last 15, 20 years that, you know, we've had events such as this, but, you know, the amount of people that have been loss of life and all, very low and to none.
Yeah.
And it's those people that, you know, drive across a raging river or whatever, and it's just like you take your life at your own risk. And it's, you know, there's some heads up what you need to do, and if you abide by, you know, keeping Mother Nature nice,
Yeah.
she's nice back.
That's right. I mean, and it's not like we haven't lost lives. I mean, if I'm correct, I think on Maui, there
Yes.
was a couple that tried to drive across a
Correct.
normally dry stream bed in a rain incident, and they lost their lives. So
Right.
it's not like it hasn't happened here. And
Correct.
I do know of, a lady in my community that when we had one of those raging floods, I think it was the 2008,
Correct.
she panicked, and the water was up to her third foot, step foot, and elderly, when you step into something that you could possibly drown.
Oh,
I mean,
most
people
of- we-
just
we've
yeah,
been very lucky, yes.
we've been fortunate, and it's been mostly property damage versus life, and I think people just should be more cognizant of the rain. But we're going to hold a cleanup in the Pu'uhulu area, which is up in the Lulule area, to kind of address this, kind of help clean the foreign stuff that doesn't belong in the streams and anything that might be sitting right next to it. And I know your agency, as well as the city, is going to be assisting us in those, and
Correct.
we'll be doing that on December 10th.
Yes, ma'am.
And I appreciate that. We just recently did one in the Pa'akea Ili'ili area, and it was quite pleasing to see all the different people coming together to help that community with their potential, issues that could cause,
Well, I was
catastrophe.
very impressed with the high school students and the young ladies and gentlemen that came out from the community. The youth of the area really came to bat, and it was hard work out there doing some things, and it was hot, and they did very well.
Well, hopefully we'll have that participation on the 10th. I look forward to working with you on the 10th,
Me
and
too.
I will say aloha for this show, and thank you very much for joining me, Vic.
Thank you.
Thank you.